Wow. Ryan Gosling really dodged a silver bullet when he dropped out of this movie. This is the Wolfman that was supposed to be a part of the Universal Pictures Dark Cinematic Universe back when he was attached. It's the third week of January, and I'm pretty certain that Wolfman 2025 is top 3 worst movies of the year. Which is a shame, because the version as it was back when Gosling was attached sounded way cooler than what director Leigh Whannell ended up giving us. Apparently, it was Ryan Gosling who pitched the idea of a new Wolfman movie to Universal Pictures in the first place. There was a script attached. It was described as being in the vein of Jake Gyllenhaal thriller Nightcrawler, which sounds awesome. But then Leigh Whannell came on board, chucked that script, and just totally rewrote it. Now, Leigh Whannell is the guy who directed The Invisible Man as well, which I was also not a fan of. The Invisible Man is connected to the Wolfman through the classic Universal monster movies of the first half of the 1900s. He also directed the movie Upgrade in the last few years, which I thought was a great, clever sci-fi action movie I really enjoyed in the theater and again at home. But like The Invisible Man with Wolfman, Whannell just completely throws out anything connected to the originals or what they were based on or their lore, and just injects his own deep social commentary metaphorical twist on it, which I'm here to tell you isn't working again. So buckle up. This ain't gonna be pretty. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Tyler and today I'm gonna be talking about Wolfman, which I have trouble referring to even as Wolfman. This is one of the most classic Universal monsters and you'd never know it if it weren't for the title of the movie. This Wolfman version was written by director Whannell and Corbett Tuck and is about a guy named Blake played by Christopher Abbott. Blake says he's a writer and is in between jobs at the moment, so he's a stay-at-home dad. Blake has a busy journalist wife named Charlotte and a daughter named Ginger. Get it? Blake finds out that his father has been officially declared dead by the state of Oregon after going missing years ago. So Blake and his family rent a moving truck and head back to Blake's childhood home out in the forest in the boonies to collect his father's things. Upon arrival, Blake and his family are immediately attacked by a creature of some sort which continues to terrorize the family for the rest of the night. During the attack, Blake is injured, which begins his transformation into Wolfman, and hilarity ensues. Okay, so the log line for the movie as Whannell pitched his new version was a man whose family is being terrorized by a lethal predator. Spoiler alert, it's toxic masculinity, okay? The lethal predator is toxic masculinity. This is clear in the first few minutes of the movie when, in the opening scene, Blake, as a kid, is walking out in the forest with his dad. And he's not paying attention to something that his dad said because he's, 10. Blake's dad turns around, leans in, and screams at him like he's doing bad voiceover dubbing for a kung fu action movie.
Is that so? Well, here's the first one.
Okay, and then he does this like several times in this opening scene, and it's so unnatural. It's done so awkwardly. It's so obvious, and it just sets the tone for this metaphor for the rest of the movie. It's like, oh, okay, that's the theme. Okay, this guy's a jerk. Christopher Abbott, as a kid, he's apparently going to have to grow up and have to deal with his own inner toxic masculinity, which comes out. Look, I have no problem with metaphors in movies. I have no problem with metaphors about toxic masculinity. But when it's done like this, it's so ham-handed. It sucks all of the joy out of everything in the movie. The metaphor just hijacks the plot, which then becomes utterly predictable. You know how this movie ends already. Trust me, you have enough information. You know how a clunky metaphor about a guy who inherited toxic masculinity and is terrorizing his wife and daughter is going to end. And you know who that other Wolfman is running around out there terrorizing this guy who inherited toxic masculinity from his dad who went missing years ago. And I'm not just bagging on the movie because of the crappy metaphor. There is some lazy, sloppy film work going on here. For instance, in the opening, there's a title card that tells us about some guy who wandered off into the forest years ago, only to return crazed. And for some reason, they feel like they need to tell us that there's some indigenous tribe that has some indigenous word for it that means face of the wolf. Even though no indigenous people or indigenous cultures are featured ever again in the movie. Also, I'm like 99.8% certain that they said it was an airborne illness. Our dude got scratched. That's how he changed. Nothing about airborne anything ever comes up again. It's so ridiculous, I'm actually questioning whether I read that right. But there is just so much other bad stuff in this movie that it makes sense that they messed that up. There's a scene where the wife, Charlotte, who's played by Julia Garner, who is 5'5", finds a spare battery and thinks that she can use it to jumpstart a truck that's outside the house so they can make their escape. She grabs with one hand her keys off a counter and with the other scoops up a car battery like it's a loaf of bread and then repeatedly just moves this thing around like it's made out of cardboard. Look, this is clearly made by people who have never had to deal with automobile issues in their life. But whatever, it's a movie prop. Who's going to notice that stuff, right? I mean, enough of this stuff adds up and you're going to start noticing it, even if you don't watch movies that often. There's another whole deal in this movie made about how Blake's perception is changing as he's transforming, about how he's seeing things in different colors and has heightened hearing. He can't understand English anymore. He's seeing things on different wavelengths. There's like a whole special camera swiveling around the actors thing so that it really hammers home what's happening here. And then 3 minutes later, we get another POV shot from Blake as he's hiding behind something, and it's just regular eyesight with no effects. It's like they forgot that he's literally not supposed to be able to see like this anymore. But whatever, it's a creature feature, right? We just want to know how the creature looks. Maybe that looks so awesome you can overlook all the other crap. Yowza. It's embarrassingly bad. It looks like rejected concept art for the Toxic Avenger. It's maybe 20% wolf. It's like 80% man. I would bet money that because Lee Whannell was so beholden to his metaphor, he wasn't even trying to design a wolf man. I would bet money that what they were going for was aging, balding, bigoted redneck white guy. Like if Archie Bunker chose the wrong grail. That's what they were designing here. I would lay money on the idea that their whole concept was, it's not even a wolf man we're making here. We're designing the inner toxic masculine monster. That's what this looks like. How do you end up with less hair after you turn into the wolf man? All right, so obviously I've got no love for Wolfman 2025, but I want to be clear. It brings me no joy to rip so hard into movies like this. I want every movie that I sit down to watch to be the best movie that I've ever seen, and I really wanted to love Wolfman. I love werewolf movies. Ever since I was a kid, Silver Bullet has been one of my favorite movies of all time, but there was just one groan-inducingly bad decision made one after another with this one. I could not get into it from Jump Street. The one redeeming quality, two maybe, the little girl, Ginger, she was pretty good. The least annoying thing about the movie. And the scenery's beautiful. This is New Zealand filling in for Oregon, so looks gorgeous. Those are my thoughts on Wolfman 2025, though. What are yours? Have you seen it? Are you going to see it? Are you going to skip it? Wait for streaming? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit like. We'll see you in the next one.